You're now outside the beltway. I'm John Fredericks, and I am your blowtorch for free speech in America. It is Friday. We have got reporter McCabe on the scene. I love this title. He's like an independent reporter, although he does have a multitude of bosses. I'm not one of them. The other day, somebody said to me something is like, "Oh, did you? Neil's got to talk to his boss," and I'm like, "Neil's got a boss? When did that happen?" I don't think Neil's ever had a boss, but yeah, that's what apparently he's got a boss out there somewhere. Churchill Downs, baby, let's roll. Spring meet at Colonial Downs, March 12th to 14th, 12th, 13th, 14th. Hey, my birthday's the 12th. Yay. Can't wait for that. Highlighted by the Virginia Derby on March 14th at Colonial Downs. Tickets go on sale right now. Go to ticketmaster.com/Colonial Downs. The Virginia Derby on the 14th. Winner, one-way ticket, baby, to the Kentucky Derby. This is so exciting. I love their spring meet. You can join us on Thursday, the 12th, on Friday, the 13th, and then the big day is Saturday for the Virginia Derby. One full day of thrilling races, plus live entertainment, music, and so much more. Yay! We're going to have so much fun. Now, gates open at 10:30 a.m. Post time is noon. Parking is free. General admission tickets for the Virginia Derby, get this, $5. What? $5? You got to be kidding me. I can't take the Metro for $5. Yes, $5. Also, children under 5 free. Bring your family. Pray for sunshine and warm weather, baby. Let's go. All you got to do is go to colonialdowns.com. Colonialdowns.com. Yes, of course we'll have a suite there. Not on Derby Day. Can't do that. That's like big time. But probably on that Friday. We're going to figure it out. Or maybe Thursday. Either way, we'll figure this out. We'll have a suite. We'll have you there. But you want to check it out because it's so much fun. Just go to colonialdowns.com for more information. Spring meet coming up. Virginia Derby, March 14th, colonialdowns.com. You're good to go. Joining me now, reporter Neil McCabe on the scene. Neil, great to have you this Friday.
John.
You know the best thing about having you on Fridays is like I never know where you are. I always know you're outside. Rain, sun, shine, snow, ice. Neil McCabe, reporter McCabe on the scene. Before we get into what's going on around here,
Yeah.
one of your colleagues said I said where's Neil, because you were in the press briefing with me, and she said, oh, he had to go out, and I said, well, why did he go out? He said, oh, I think he got a call from his boss, and I'm like, you mean his wife? She said, no, like his boss. I'm like, Neil doesn't have a boss. Neil doesn't have a boss. What's the deal? Have you ever had a boss, Neil?
You'll be surprised to learn that there are many people in my life who think they're my boss.
How'd that work out for them?
There are people who talk to me like they're my boss. Certainly.
How'd that work out for them, Neil?
Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. You know, it's but it's always funny because I'm a man of great experience and training, and there's a lot of things I happen to know that other people don't know. And guy says to me once, he says, I was running a small newspaper in Somerville, Massachusetts. And the guy says, hey, I'm thinking of starting my own newspaper. I'd love to pick your brain. And I said, you mean you'd love to pick my pocket? You can hire me and I will show you how to do it. But I'm just not going to sit here and give it all away just because you're a nice guy. He's like, well, I just thought we could just talk. I said, yeah, I imagine that's what you thought.
Well,
but
you're not.
I'm in the Supreme Court today, John.
Right.
Because there is speculation that today the Supreme Court is going to drop its decision on the Trump tariffs. This is decision day. We're already seeing different people filing in who are sort of groups of people are being brought in who have decisions that are before the court. And so I don't know if there'll be a lot of Antifa protesting the tariffs, but that would be a pretty significant decision, not so much for the practicality, because so far this year, Trump has raised, I don't know, or so far since he did these tariffs, he's probably raised $200 billion, $400 billion, right? Tremendous amount of money that goes up against the deficit. But, you know, if they tell him you can't use this tariff law, well, there's other tariff laws he can use. So those tariffs aren't going anywhere. but it shows that the Supreme Court is sort of bucking Trump and trying to show some independence. And I would be looking for how Roberts or Kavanaugh or even Coney Barrett behave. We're supposed to have a 6-3 majority, but it doesn't always function that way, John.
Well, the stakes here are enormous because if this goes down 5-4, if this goes down, basically we have to refund back. What? How much? How much is it?
Let's say 300 billion.
We got to fork over $300 billion.
Right.
I mean that, and then the floodgates open again, and all the cheap goods come in, and they dump everything in, and we've had manufacturing starts and steel companies fire up all as a result of these tariffs. I mean, if you dump these, it is economic chaos beyond anything we've seen in a couple of decades. Basically, you got to go back to the 2008 crash, Neil. The economic turmoil and chaos that this would cause, you can't even add this up because it's jobs, it's plants, it's investment, it's trillions of dollars of new businesses going up, people coming here. All that gets wiped out. Plus, you got to pay back $300 billion to who? China? I mean, this is insane. But
Well, these are the people suing, right? The people who brought this thing to the courts, right? These are companies that make products in China. So they use slave labor in China and they don't want to hire Americans. And it's like, well, there's a lot of companies that do this, but they say, well, we can't find any Americans who want to take these jobs. Well, pay him a living wage. If you pay a guy enough so that he can support a family and his wife can stay home, he'll clean toilets, he'll mow lawns, he'll brush down your horses, right? The idea that, it's like the guy at Nike, right? Makes $30 million a year. He's like, yeah, we just can't find anybody. It just, I will say this too. If you want to understand the Trump administration, there are two presidents he put portraits of in the East Room, Teddy Roosevelt and William McKinley. William McKinley was economic nationalism and tariffs. Teddy Roosevelt was gunboat diplomacy, speak softly. Well, Trump doesn't really speak softly, but he certainly's got a big stick. And that Teddy Roosevelt had ships and Marines going all over the place, solving problems. The only reason we have a Panama Canal is because Teddy Roosevelt he created Panama and then put a canal there, right? And so I was always raised, right, where they taught us that this is great. Teddy Roosevelt was such a strong president because of all of his gunboat diplomacy and everything he did. He's always ranked top 5 presidents. When Trump does it, it's fascism, authoritarianism, or whatnot. But we'll see if the Supreme Court bucks Trump today. They may pass because of the pending war with Iran, like you were just talking about in the previous segment. It could be that they take a pass because they just don't, because the markets are already roiling, oil's up and everything else. So maybe the Supreme Court will let it go. But if they're gonna rule against the president, and he's got to give back $300 billion, it's by the time, maybe they say maybe it's $400 billion. I mean, the meter's running on this thing.
I don't, in my heart and bones, I don't think the Supreme Court wants to inject themselves as the purveyor of economic calamity and chaos. I just don't think that's their role here. So I'm hoping for a 5-4 decision. It's not going to be 6-3. Roberts will vote no. Roberts is going to vote against anything meaningful for Trump so he can have a great write-up in the New York Times, right? We all get that. So this has got to be a 5-4 decision. I mean, I've had people on our side that told me Trump was going to lose 9-0. I had one guy telling me that a fund, somebody, John Fund, who's been around forever, said no. Yeah. Trump's going to remember Fund's still around. We were at some dinner. He's like, and he's for free trade. He's not for tariffs. So he's like, Trump's going to lose 9-0. So we'll see what happens. But this is going to be huge. We're with reporter Neil McCabe. He is on the scene at the Supreme Court. Could be a big decision today. Neil, you're a military veteran. You've served a long time. What is your thoughts on the buildup in the Persian Gulf and what you think the president is going to do with Iran as it relates to the Ayatollahs?
Well, it's very much the American style of war to do a full on buildup before we invade, right? So there's no, yeah, we're capable of surprise attacks, but typically what we do is we build up and our enemy watches us build up. And it's right. And they just stand there and watch and it builds and it builds and it builds. And when it's building, that is the time to talk. And then when we launch, that's the time we launch. You want to look for things like all the fuel tankers, right? The army, the military can't move without fuel. They just moved 40 fuel tankers into the Middle East. They just moved 100 or so land-based aircraft into the Middle East. This is not carrier groups, okay? The Ford carrier group, which was off the coast of Venezuela, it is now steaming for the Mediterranean. It's going to cross the Straits of Gibraltar in about 4 or 5 days. Once it crosses the Straits of Gibraltar, it can be off on station off the exit of the Suez Canal in about 24 hours. And so you have two carrier groups. Then you have ships in the Red Sea. Also, you look for the Patriot missile batteries. CENTCOM has moved Patriot missile batteries from other locations to now this sort of battle space. And I was told by someone at the Pentagon that the final piece is securing the air defense, which wasn't a problem, say, with Venezuela or frankly in Iraq, right? There weren't Iraqi fighter jets, right? The Taliban didn't have fighter jets. The Iranians have fighter jets. They have bombers. And so, obviously the air defense thing can't be ignored. But if your air defense is in place, your fuel is in place, your ships are in place, the time to talk is over. It's a go.
That's kind of the way I look at it. That's kind of as some of the leaks coming out. I think what we heard last night that got leaked was the president had two options. One was a full go, because the Ayatollahs are not going to they're not going to compromise to leave. I mean, I think everybody's already put that in the bag. Maybe it happens, right? But I doubt it. So, but the other thing is that he was considering, we heard, a limited strike and then go back to the negotiating table, like kind of like an appetizer of what's to come. Could you see that?
I think that Trump is of the mind now that he just wants to clear this thing off the table.
I agree.
It's the limited strike. We had a limited strike. We struck. What do I have to do to impress you? I knocked out your command and control of your nuclear weapons program. That didn't get your attention. Well, maybe you're just going to take this one. They're going to strap to the mast and go down with the ship.
A lot of people in the MAGA movement are very, I don't know, leery of what we're doing right now, saying it's not America first. We said we got out of these wars. You got to focus on domestic policy. Nobody's more MAGA than me, and I agree with what the president is doing here. I think it's in every American's best interest to get these Ayatollahs out of there, one way or the other. They can figure their own government out, but these guys have been killing Americans forever. There's always the threat of a nuclear weapon that would destabilize the entire region, cause massive deaths on a massive scale. I don't even understand why people don't see this move as America first. Help us understand that, Neil.
Well, I think a lot of this America First stuff is sort of in the mainstream media, which has never actually met anyone from MAGA, right? They talk about MAGA as like animals they saw at the zoo on a custody weekend. It's like, oh yeah, MAGA's so upset about Epstein. Really? I don't know. I mean, it was good gossip. It was interesting. Nobody was like flipping out over Epstein. On wars, I think people just get frustrated, and it's not MAGA. I think it's working class people it's their sons and daughters who are going to these wars, and we just want it to be worth something. Don't tell us you killed 60,000 people in Vietnam and it was a huge mistake. Don't tell us there are weapons of mass destruction and then say, oops, we're wrong. And now there's body bags out of Fallujah. That's what people are upset by. If this is a good war for good reasons, Nobody has a problem with defending the United States of America. If America is in trouble, we will rise up, we'll enlist, we'll charge, we'll run to the sound of the guns. But if this is just some kind of hoo-ha-ha, nobody's interested in that. That's not MAGA. That's just common sense.
Oh, without a doubt. I agree with you there, and I think the next, what is it? The next 5 or 6, 7 days is going to tell. But if the Iranian government is smart, they'll give up all their nuclear weapons, and the Ayatollahs will take refuge in Moscow or Syria, or they'll, something, they'll just abdicate and get out of there. But I don't see that happening because these are religious crackpot fanatics, Neil.
They have nowhere to go. That's the problem. And it's like, there was a Roman general. He said that when an army is retreating, you build them a golden bridge to run away, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what you want. You want them to just go away. The Ayatollah is not going away. He's trapped. And that's a problem. And we offered Maduro an off ramp. We offered Saddam Hussein an off ramp, right? It's, sometimes they take it, sometimes they don't. There was the guy in Haiti. We offered him the off ramp. He said, we'll give you a big castle in France and millions of dollars. He said, all right, I'll take that. Right? Some guys take the deal. I don't think these guys can take the deal. And there's a lot of people in the Middle East who are tired of the Iranians, who want us to do it. And frankly, at this point, if we want people to take us seriously, we have to do it. These people have been a thorn in our side, and that's being polite, since 1979. Since Carter let these guys in. Unreal.
Thorn in our side. Neil, final thing, a lot has come out on these Epstein files.
Yeah.
And you know where I stand on it. I think it all should be released and redacted, unredacted, all of it. Let chips fall they may. But I've said from the beginning that the victims were only 50% of this. The other 50% is the fact that we have two Americas. We have one for working stiffs like yourself and me and our families, that if we get a parking ticket and don't pay it, they impound our car and take away our license, right? That's what happens in DC. You live here like me, right? Got to follow the law. You go 5 miles over the speed limit in DC, a camera takes a picture of your car. You got to pay $100 fine, right? If you don't pay it, the next time they see your plate, your car's gone. They put the wheel things on it and tow it away until you got to go. So we're accountable for everything. But then they see these elites that can get away with anything, go to the island, pedophilia, make money. They see elites protecting elites. And this is what you're seeing now in these files. Lutnick going to an island, trying to strike a deal, make money after the guy was a convicted pedophile sex offender. Mutual friend of ours, Steve Bannon, all over the. Neil.
Hey, how are you?
Good. What's your take on this?
Well, first of all, it's shocking to me that that woman from the Obama White House could go from being Biden's senior legal policy advisor to be general counsel, chief legal officer of Goldman Sachs, and then the whole time everyone's talking about Epstein, right? She doesn't raise her hand and say, by the way, I was fully integrated with the Obama administration, the Biden administration, and Epstein and Goldman Sachs, and we were all working together. And so she resigns as if it was a big shock. And it's like, there was a case where there was a Malaysian bond scandal where Goldman Sachs paid a $3 billion fine that she negotiated, right? No one went to jail from Goldman Sachs, except the only person who went to jail was the guy who worked with the government to tell the whistleblower who told the government what Goldman Sachs was up to. That guy is in jail right now. Goldman Sachs did something, it's like you talk about the elites protecting the elites. It's, your own story, right? Sleeping in a car while the guys in Greenwich, Connecticut are completely taken care of. A very good friend of mine worked for an old school, very old stock firm in New York City. They never got involved in mortgages. The partners were very traditional, very conservative. And when the mortgage thing went down, they assumed, like in other cases, what would happen is the guys who were cheating, the guys who were playing fast and loose, they would get wiped out, and then they would collect the clients, right? Because they were left standing because they did it right. And then the bad people would be washed away. Like, but not this time. And this is the way it's done now. The bad guys get taken care of and the good guys get stiffed.
Bingo. That's why that is the crux of the Epstein files. That's why it's now way beyond the victims. It's about, once again, elites protecting elites, money protecting money, which is the soul of what started the MAGA movement in 2010 up to 15 was the elites protecting elites. That's how our movement started. Now we're right back to it. Neil, I got to go. Thank you. People want to follow you, Neil. Where do they go?
At Reporter McCabe on all the socials. At Reporter McCabe. Thanks, John.
Talk soon. Rob Crilly, next.